Welcome to Season 3 of Own Your Divine Light Show. I am Janet Miller, the Divine Light Activator, and I am so happy to have you here during this critical time in humanity's expansion. This is a momentous time, something none of us have experienced before, and I feel it's so important to share our experiences. We are in the shifting of ages, and we are learning about ourselves, and it is a gift. We are ready to create the world we are waiting for, and we get to do it together. What will be our new normal as our world continues to shift? I'm thrilled and excited to welcome a guest who has been a long time coming, and I had to say that, Natalia Kuna. Natalia, welcome, Natalia. So happy to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Natalia is a psychic medium, an energy healer, an angel intuitive, and spiritual teacher, providing worldwide reading, healing, and training services. She does it via Zoom and Skype. How perfect for right now. She's also the founder of Spiritual Course Academy. She's so excited to be offering these online courses to help people understand spiritual concepts and techniques while keeping safe, protected, grounded, and real. And she's a teacher. As a teacher, she has an excellent ability to break down topics into simple steps and teach content from her solid foundation. Natalia is also an avid writer with so many spiritual, metaphysical, and self-development articles published on her website, as well as a magazine she was in. She has 3 true angel stories, which is so cool, and published by Doreen Virtue of Hay House. And Natalia guides, heals, and uplifts people on their personal and spiritual paths, releasing what no longer serves them, aligns them back to truth, authentic selves, reconnects with their personal power, and awakens them and gives their soul purpose. So she provides these free spiritual insights and energy updates by tuning into cosmic energy and the angels to help understand what's happening and how to progress forward in a more consciously aware way. Welcome, Natalia. So happy we finally get to meet. And, I love that you're a writer. We talked about that before we went on.
Mhm.
That you've been published by Hay House. So fabulous. Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
those true stories, they were so interesting because I read them. And there has to be more. I know you have more. So I have to ask the question, can you tell us, how did you find out you were a psychic medium? Did you do it as a child? Where did it all start?
Yeah, I think, as a young person, I think I was intuitive, just didn't understand it.
Mhm.
But it was really more in my teen years, going towards my 20s, where I started to have these experiences, like I think a lot of children do, a lot of teenagers. So seeing things, feeling things. And for me, it really started early with the angels more. When I was 8 years old, having seen an angel appear in my room, and because I was really worried at the time, I was worried about my dad who was, driving a drunk relative home,
Oh,
and then I was in bed, and just this amazing angel just appeared, and it was just like, for me, looking back now and, later having trained as an angel intuitive, it's having that experience that really set it in for me that, yes, angels are real and that, they really are here for us to reassure us and calm us and help us. 'Cause it's hard to believe those things otherwise. You can have a feeling for it and really hope and wish that it's true, but I think it's when you have the true experiences that really shape it for you, and that's a story that I tell my kids, and it helps them as well. But in terms of other sort of psychic and mediumship experiences, probably, when I was in my 20s, I started to receive these messages just sporadically. So one time I was, walking home late at night, and I suddenly just got this really bad feeling, and I got a voice literally just come into my head and say, "A man's gonna pull up," literally tell me what was about to happen. "Man's about to pull up and try to get you to come into his car." And, because that voice came through, I just felt this calm, and it was like that calm that I felt as an 8-year-old having seen an angel, and it helped me deal with the experience. And then so that's exactly what happened. Seconds later, a guy, very dodgy, and he's tried to coerce me to come into his car, and it was really scary. But something happened, and it was like he saw something, and then he's all of a sudden took off. So that was another one. And then I had all these experiences when I traveled to Japan and I worked teaching English in Japan. And I suddenly was getting all this psychic insight and I was really connected to the land there. And it was just something was awakening in me. And I was only in my maybe early to mid 20s. And I remember things like I lived at one time in this international guest house, which was really fun, so fun. And one time a new tourist came in and I was about to ask him, "Where are you from?" And then the voice told me in my head, and it wasn't where he's from, like, what's your nationality? And it was like five different things. It was like Serbian, Argentinian, Irish, and all these things are like unlikely combinations. And then the voice told me, and then the guy told me exactly what the voice told me. So that was really startling. And then also, while I was in Japan, a voice told me that an earthquake was about to happen. And these are not scary voices, by the way. This is a very calming. In fact, the voices that I had that was sort of life saving and that kind of thing is this calming sort of male like voice that really just puts you into this state of absolute calm. So seconds later, an earthquake happened. And of course, being in Tokyo, I was a bit frightened before that because they say a big one happens every 10 years, and 10 years had already passed. So,
Oh,
so
wow. Yeah.
reassurance. So I just kept having experiences like this. And then even as I was in my late 20s, I was seemed to be able to detect if a female was pregnant or the gender of the baby and just things like that. Yeah, lots of things sort of happening. But I was always into the angels and, I got really drawn to the angel cards. And so I bought a pack and I was really excited. And I don't even remember this, but I have some friends that remind me that I would always try, like pull out my cards and like give impromptu readings, all amateur, but I was just so into it. And then I had the opportunity to go and learn to be an angel intuitive, which was training done by Doreen Virtue with Hay House. And I was so excited to go. It was like the most amazing event of my whole entire life. And I remember going there and there was just all these people who were like-minded people. And this is back around 2009, so, over a decade ago. And it was like I finally found my home because I always felt like I didn't belong anywhere and that I was different and that I experienced people differently. And I didn't understand that I was very empathic and intuitive. And it wasn't like having a normal conversation with people. It was more like I was experiencing everything about them, and it's hard to hold a basic conversation sometimes. So it was really nice to have that event. And uh, so when I trained to be an angel intuitive, it's just like anyone, I guess, who starts to train in some way or learn psychic development, things like that. You just start to grow and that's what happened, and all of a sudden, one minute I'm giving oracle card readings, and the next, all the psychic information is coming through on at first it's just little things, little intuitive hits and little messages. And then all of a sudden, I remember the first time I went to give an oracle card reading to someone who, paid for a session, I was absolutely so scared. And as they came in and I had all my cards set up and everything, and I couldn't believe it, but my first session, I didn't even start with the oracle cards until 45 minutes into the session because I was receiving psychic information. And I didn't, I really spun myself out. So that's how it all started. And then I knew I was on the right track. And one thing leads to another, and your mediumship opens up, which is something we practice in the Angel Intuitive as well. Um, and then all these experiences, so I'd be walking around and, going to the mall, and then all of a sudden I would just get this overwhelming feeling like I have to give a message to someone, and it was overwhelming. And this person there could be a million people, but this one person would glow somehow, and I just knew to follow the calling. I've always followed that, and I've always thought it doesn't matter if I look like a Looney Tune. I've always been highly ethical and used discernment as well because, it's not anyone's business otherwise I don't try to tap into anyone. I just followed what was naturally happening, and I felt like this was God, I guess, God's way to allow me to be of service in some way. So I always followed it. It doesn't matter if I was just out in my tracksuit pants and, thinking, "Oh God, I'm gonna look like a crazy person here." But I just always just put that out and always thought there's one thing that Doreen Virtue taught, which I'll always remember is if you get nervous, focus on service. So it's always taking yourself out of the equation. And I've always done that. And I think that's where the true guidance comes and where you do true work. Um, so everything just developed from there.
Wow, that's so special. Yeah, it's so interesting how you didn't quite understand what you were getting, but you got so much, and that's not always normal for everybody. And
Yes.
so wow, you just opened up and you just followed it, which is so beautiful. Well, congratulations, because it's all working, right?
Yeah, it's been really amazing actually. So, I love what I do, and I think that's the key as well, just enjoying what you're doing, follow that calling, and just go for it.
Like you say, people connect to seeing 1111, which I love
Mhm.
to see too, and I see so much of that. Can you tell us why people see 1111? What's your take on that and all the other numbers that tend to be
Yeah, it's really this sort of mysterious phenomenon that's come about seemingly out of nowhere. One minute we're all walking around having a normal life, and the next this thing's starting to happen where you're seeing numbers, and there's other numbers too, but let's just focus on the 1111. So, you could be seeing it anywhere, whether it's on a street sign or, the time, all over the place on receipts. And it starts to happen and you start to notice it. And then you think, at first, is this just a coincidence? And then very quickly, though, you realize it's not, and something much more magical and meaningful is happening here. And I think it's really actually been happening for more than a decade now. Some people think it was sort of from 2012, December 21st, when the end of the Mayan calendar was said to be, which was quite a sort of big date. And it was
Mhm.
definitely that was a really important date because there was a galactical alignment at that time. And it really did sort of mark the end of an old epoch and the start of something new. And actually, funnily enough, the actual date of the 21st, the 12th, 2012 adds up to 11. So, like there's something in that. However, there have been people that have seen the number before that. So I remember seeing it probably around, if not 2009, then 2010, definitely in 2011, because I remember the date of November 11th,
Mhm.
11/11, 2011, where a lot of people were doing meditations. So, um, I really believe it's a sign from God, whatever you wanna call that, God's source, everything that we're all connected to. And,
Mhm.
Earth is changing and, rapidly. We're accelerating, energy's accelerating, light is coming in like so much light. And 1111 is sort of acting like this way shower, a signal, and it's just blaring at us. And it's a way for us to not feel so alone.
Mm.
And, we're all walking along our sort of like blind in our little everyday lives. And so that when that number comes up, it's like it stops you in your tracks. And then you feel this moment of connection. And that's really what that number's all about. So I do feel that it's happening because of earth changes, because of this great awakening that we're in, because it really is a number of awakening. And all of this accelerating energy that's happening. And because, this energy is coming in to counteract the more darker energy, because, let's face it, it's not easy and there's a lot of challenges here. So I really feel like this is God's message or the universe's message to us to, have reassurance, to keep our faith, hope, which is something we really need because a lot of us have that, but then we go up and down, and it's just nice to have that reassurance. It's nice to know our angels are around us, like finding feathers, all that kind of thing. So seeing this number, really, it feels to me also, I've been thinking about this, that it's perhaps pre-encoded,
Mm.
that, there's that idea that we have these soul contracts before we come onto Earth. And perhaps, 1111 is already this signal that's been encoded in our DNA, and that we are predestined to awaken at this time. And so that when we see the numbers, it's a reminder, it's a signal, it's like an alarm bell, a
Mm.
clarion call. So it ignites some kind of memory in us to remember who we are, where we're from, that we are soul.
Yeah.
So, and if you just feel into the energy of that, it's like we are soul. So it's bringing us back into alignment. So the other thing about it is that when you think about the numbers, it's kind of like a bridge. If you think of 11 on one side has been the two foundations of one side of a river, of the bridge, and the other 11 on this side, and then you have the Rainbow Bridge. So
Mm.
it's like it's bridging earth to heaven and vice versa. And so there's this idea, this spiritual concept about the universal laws and about this idea of as above, so below. So I really feel that 1111 has come in as a kind of signal to bridge us to the other side, remind us where we're from and what we're here to do. So it's very reciprocating. And it's, it's like when you see it, it's like two giant goals or signposts that you just can't miss. So it literally is like a sign. So it really shows us that Spirit is there behind the scenes. They're rooting for us and they're like, it's okay because we know it's hard, but here you go, 1111. And, there's a lot of meanings behind it too, which I'll get into. So I do feel like it's somehow linked in with our DNA, our genetics.
Mm.
Perhaps there's even the notion of computer code because, physics asks that. In physics, physicists are saying that, perhaps we live in this simulated world, which is like a computer. And if you think of, even if we just think of it metaphorically, if you think of the whole universe as this giant computer, and then we're these little computers, and we have this biological system. And what if 1111 was a code, like a kind of computer code? And if you really break down the simplicities of life, it all comes down to numbers anyway. And that this code kind of activates something within us because they do talk about computer codes as having binary numbers where one is the on switch and zero is off. So when you think about that on switch, that's really what 1111 does. It turns on it
Mm.
turns on your lights, basically. So it's like a giant switchboard that blares in front of you like neon lights. So the other thing I would say is it's like a wake up call.
Mhm.
It's like a wake up call where we're being ignited to get on with it. Light workers or anyone just wake up and do your work. And so it's this sort of clarion call, I guess you'd like to say. And there's one more theory that I've been thinking about actually that was coming to me today, and that is I mentioned before about the darker energy, so I'll just talk about it very briefly. But there are how shall I say? So there's the negative side of the occult where they use numbers in negative ways. So it dawned to me today that perhaps God is bringing in these numbers, this frequency, to alleviate or counteract the
Mm.
dark use of the numbers.
Oh, I love that.
And
Yeah.
yeah, this is a really big revelation actually that came through today, and obviously because we're having this session about 1111, and actually I've got
Me
goosebumps.
too. I was like,
um,
"Ooh, that lit me up." It totally lit
yeah,
up. Yeah.
I really feeling into that, you see, because everything's about light and dark. So if there were negative people sort of saying, here, we're going to use this number in a negative way, then God's like, boom, beam, beam, beaming in the light and bringing that light in to counteract it. And then us in the middle, us who are awakening, seekers, light workers, all the rest of it, we are being activated by these numbers and our lights are then growing. So we're like, if you imagine what the view would look like from up above of all these lights around the world
Mhm.
waking up. And that's the gift of 1111 in a nutshell, I think. But I mean, there's so much more to say, but
No,
I
it's
think that's important. Yeah.
it was so that makes so much sense because I know when I'm getting kinda stressed and I'm getting really tired, I'll look at my clock and it's all 11:11. I mean, one
Yeah.
day I was having a really rough day, and every time I looked at the clock, it seemed like it said something with 11. And I kept saying, "Okay, thank you."
Mm.
And it was like that hope coming in, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
that you can do it. It's like it keeps
Yeah.
reminding me, "You can do this. You just keep going. Don't give up, and, you're not alone." It's all those kinds of things that, like you're saying, that are coming through, and that makes a lot of sense to me, and that it counteracts the other is really that's a great I like that a lot. That makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
and I totally get chills every time I just said it again. I'm like, "Oh my."
Me too. I am. It's really profound, actually.
I think
Tapped into
so.
something.
I think that's gonna help everyone here, so keep an eye out, for 1111s and to, just totally be aware of them now because it's gonna help you. I know it helps me, and I've always been aware of 1111 and, like, the double numbers 22, 33. you can go into those 44. So I don't know what you mean. So you say it connects to the higher energy. So here you are telling us it does connect to
Yeah.
the energy. Is there any other way you see that happening with the 11?
Yeah, well, for me, really, if you want to just break down what is 1111, it's a high frequency.
Mm,
So when we talk about raising our vibration, there's different ways you can do that, from the most basic way, like have a laugh, have a bath. No rhyme intended, but that was good.
oh,
And yeah, and then to using energy to raise your vibration.
mm,
And now 1111 comes in like these blaring headlights, that you just can't miss. And it's offering this vibration. And so, whether you're someone who is just has no idea or is beginning out on this, then this little seed kind of births the seed of awakening. And when the person sees 1111 and they start to notice it, they start to realize, yes, something is going on here. What's this? And it just wakes them out of their coma, if you like, and out of that sort of rat race and treadmill that we're all in this life. And after a while, like my husband says, when when it started to happen to him, because I'm the spiritual one, he was like, "Okay, something's going on here. It's following me everywhere." And then he would start to send me text messages, 11:11, and it was really funny. And there's been so many moments, just even with my family, my kids see it. There was this one day where we kept seeing it, and then we sat down to watch TV, and then all these 11s were just dancing all over the screen out of nowhere. I don't even know what it was. It wasn't a TV program. It's just all these 11s. And it's like dropping down. So, you can't escape it. And, I've thought into it, being intuitive and being for me, it's important to keep things simple and to keep grounded and keep real and break everything down into simplicity. We don't need to complicate everything, because sometimes I find that people send me messages, as they would you as well, what does it mean? What does it mean? And they're driving themselves crazy. Like when they find a feather, they want to know the meaning. But I just like to say it's okay, relax, just step back. And, the whole gift of 1111 is it's sort of doing the work for you, because a lot of it is happening on a subconscious level that we're not always aware of. So especially as a beginner, you maybe sort of don't understand about energy and feeling stuff. And, everyone has intuition and it just awakens at different times. But I think that's one of the gifts of 1111 too, is it does wake up your intuition as
mhm,
well on some level. Uh, but, there's so many things about it. Really, I feel that it puts you into alignment.
mm,
And I was thinking about that word this morning, alignment. So think of the number one as a line. So it's aligning you into that line. And if you think of the number one, it's really your connection between earth and heaven, as I mentioned before. But it's like when we were dropped off here onto earth from heaven as a baby, we're like this number one being sort of dropped down. And now it's coming around 360 and we're sort of reaching up. So, but we're to find a balance. So it's
yeah.
very much about alignment and balance. So hence the four ones, which sort of quadruplify everything, if that's a word. Um, so that idea of alignment too makes me think of entrainment.
Mm,
And the idea of entrainment is where you sink into a rhythm of something, can become one. And so, there's so much in this. And then it's like, okay, we're sort of on this train ride when we see the numbers 1111, and it's like a booster. It's like a rocket launcher, if you like. And we're taking when I was in Japan, they had that fastest train in the world. It's called the Shinkansen. Yeah. And so it's like taking the bullet train
yep,
rather than the slow tracks. It's nice to be in a slow train too, mind you, but it just offers this kind of acceleration, like this push, like a rocket launch in a way. And then there's this notion of upliftment. So it really lifts you up. And we talked about how it's such a nice feeling and it's so reassuring. And, I find that the angels, when you're connected to spirit, all our benevolent helpers, they're here to help us. They're here to uplift us. So that's what the number does. I've mulled over it. I've even thought, I took time even at one stage to think, is 1111 safe? Like I really did look into it intuitively, and I felt it through, and I just knew from experience, no, this is here to help us. I mean, you know when you're speaking with other people and you'll find that the 11:11 synchronicities just keep flaring up and happening more and more and more and more, and it's just a positive thing, so, mm,
Yeah, many of my friends are very connected to that, the 11:11. We talk about it. Oh, 11:11, you look
yeah,
on a license plate in front of you and there's an 11:11. It's like God saying hello and, sources saying, "Hi, I'm here. We're really here," and
yeah,
kinda cool. And I'm just thinking of my house number. My house number is 119. You add that up and it's an 11, and I've been here 33 years, actually 34 now. So I'm like, "Yeah, I picked this house, we picked this house, and I've been so happy here, and my life totally shifted here. I mean, I've done things here I never did anywhere else, so it was meant to be." It's like here you're meant to be
yeah,
planted. It's like, I love the number of it, and a lot of people buy houses with the numbers to make sure that they're feeling aligned with that. I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a lot. Even your birth date, you look at your birthday,
yeah,
what's your birthday, how do you add it up, what have you got? It's a lot of
mm.
information, but it's really powerful information, so thank you for that.
I just wanted
So
to say one thing. Sorry,
yeah,
when you mentioned the address, I was feeling that with the 9 end of your address, the 11 and then the 9, that it's like you're here to close off a cycle in your life.
ah,
You know, if and so it's the 11 is definitely your awakening and all of that, but then it feels too that the 9 is bringing this sense of grand closure as an old soul
yeah, I've
of
heard
like that,
I have heard that.
yeah,
Thank you for
that
that.
sense of
That's true.
mission.
Yes,
Mhm.
there's a mission to do. Yeah. I agree. So, and I know this book, this is a book, and I'm gonna show everybody right here, the 11:11
Yeah.
Code, which is, Natalia, introduced me to the author, and he is gonna be on the show. What did you get from that book? Like, we don't wanna take all his, information away.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is I'll let Charlie do the speaking, but, Charlie's become a friend. He's
Yes.
awesome. He's a nuclear physicist. He's a genius,
Yes.
and,
Yes.
he's so, advanced, and he's a pleasure to speak with because, apart from that you might not understand everything that he says because, he's so advanced with his science and math and engineering and all of that, he really is a kindred spirit, and, he really has experienced that sense of awakening and bridging the 2 worlds, and that's a lot what that book is about, is bridging the 2 worlds, of science and spirituality, and just understanding how the universe works through numbers. Because when we talk about numbers, and you were mentioning before, like, so many people feel drawn to numbers and they celebrate numbers, and, they feel that numbers have meaning and are sacred. And, numbers really are in everything. This is the secret of the universe, that they underline everything, and Charlie has peeled away the layers and allowed us to see, how numbers operate, in everything, and, you know, in light and everything. And so, it's a hard one, though. You have to, like, put on your big girl hat to read the book. It's, it's not easy, but he's brilliant. He's brilliant. So I say, read the book, go through the maths just to see how many facts of everyday life all connect to numbers. It's
Mm,
just incredible. And I
fascinating.
think that's where the 11:11 comes in, and, it is a code. It's an awakening code, as
Yeah.
he says in his title.
Yeah, it is amazing, and, I just started it, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, this is like a textbook." I mean, it's a whole new view of numbers and numerology, which I think is so powerful, so, yeah, I highly recommend it
Mhm,
too if people wanna read it. Look at it as kinda like it's a spiritual journey, but it's also a textbook, and it's kind of like
mhm,
it's gonna change your thoughts on all of numerology. If you don't know a lot, this is gonna help you put a lot of things together, so it's pretty
mhm.
awesome.
Sometimes when you're looking up numbers, you might see things that are like, make a wish and things like that, which, it can represent those things because 11:11 can be like a manifestation portal in that way. But I like to feel more deeply into the numbers and deeply into signs that we're receiving, and I get a lot of intuition just from experience and everyday life and little bits that come through. And so it was important to me for me to share a more deeper meaning and how we can utilize this energy and what it really means, and just really stepping into it and understanding it on a higher level. This is where the 1111 comes in as an example of, that feeling of hope and the higher frequency coming in, because it's easy to get drowned by the lower energy and to really get lost in it. And we can easily sink down to our lowest depths. And, it's you feel that collective energy. You feel that sense of uneasiness. Sometimes it's just you're sitting at home, and then at a certain time of the day, all of a sudden you feel anxious, and you feel this great feeling of unrest. And most people don't like the unknown. They're scared of the unknown, and a lot of this is the unknown. So that's where if you can go out for walks and just, enjoy the nature and the fresh air and clear your head, and then pay attention when you're seeing the numbers and things like that, and allow that to lift you up, then it's easier to walk through everything when you have that faith and that higher energy.
Mm.
But nobody's perfect. We all go through our ups and downs, even us
Oh,
energy healers and psychics, like we're,
yeah,
you
we
know.
all do. Yeah, and the eye of the storm. They're saying the best place to be is to be the observer. To be the observer, very
Mm,
grounded. I mean, if you're feeling the
yes.
feelings, sit with them and feel them, and if you can't handle it, reach out to somebody like Natalia. Natalia, thank you so much for being the brilliant, shining teacher and cosmic messenger that you are, and for helping so many people in what you do and the work you do, and to unlock their passions, ignite their authenticity,
Mm.
and to accelerate their soul purpose, and finally create the world and the lives we've been waiting for. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless everyone.